The United Kingdom woke up to a day of spectacle and tension as the U.S. president touched down for a high-profile state visit. From the moment the presidential aircraft entered British airspace, live coverage followed every movement. Commentators filled the airwaves with predictions, history lessons, and breaking updates. Crowds lined the streets long before sunrise. Some eager to catch a glimpse of the visiting leader, others ready to voice sharp criticism. London police deployed in force to keep the atmosphere peaceful. The combination of royal ceremony and charged politics made this visit one of the most watched diplomatic events of the year. State visits between the United States and the United Kingdom always draw attention. These two countries share deep historical ties, military alliances, and economic connections. Yet every visit also reflects the politics of the moment. This trip comes at a time of shifting global power, ongoing conflicts in Europe and the Middle East, and debates about climate policy and trade. For the U.S. president, the journey offers a chance to show leadership on the world stage. For Britain, it is an opportunity to reinforce the so-called special relationship and attract new investment. Both sides see benefits, but both face domestic criticism as well. As cameras followed the presidential motorcade from the airport to Windsor Castle, the first images of the visit reached millions of screens. Supporters waved American and British flags, cheering the arrival. Protesters held banners with messages about climate action, human rights, and economic justice. Chants echoed through central London while police carefully maintained a corridor for peaceful demonstration. The contrast between royal pomp and street-level protests set the tone for a day filled with both celebration and challenge. The royal welcome. At Windsor Castle, King Charles III stood ready to greet his guest. The ceremonial welcome followed centuries-old tradition. A guard of honor lined the courtyard in full-dress uniform. Military bands performed national anthems. Cannons fired salutes that echoed across the castle grounds. Cameras captured every detail, from the polished boots of the soldiers to the bright plumes on their hats. The president stepped out of the official vehicle, shook hands with the king, and exchanged brief words that were picked up by long-distance microphones. The two leaders then reviewed the guard, walking slowly as soldiers stood at attention. Royal pageantry serves a diplomatic purpose. The United Kingdom uses ceremony to signal respect, continuity, and strength. By offering such an elaborate welcome, the British government sends a message to its own citizens and to the world. The relationship with the United States remains a top priority. For the U.S. president, the spectacle provides powerful imagery. Cameras capture scenes of respect and partnership that can be used back home to reinforce the idea of global leadership. In an age when political narratives often unfold on social media, these visuals carry weight far beyond the castle walls. Inside the castle, the president and the king exchanged gifts, another tradition of state visits. Reports indicate that the British side presented a collection of historical documents highlighting the early ties between the two nations, while the American delegation offered a piece of contemporary art symbolizing friendship and shared democratic values. Gift exchanges may seem symbolic, but they often contain subtle diplomatic messages. By selecting artifacts that highlight cooperation, both sides reinforce a narrative of long-standing partnership despite current disagreements. A banquet of speeches. Later in the evening, the royal family hosted a grand state banquet. Long tables stretched across the magnificent hall, decorated with fine china, glittering silverware, and towering floral arrangements. Guests included top British officials, senior members of the U.S. delegation, business leaders, and cultural figures. Television networks broadcast live footage of the arrivals, noting every handshake and every piece of jewelry. Viewers around the world tuned in to hear the toasts and speeches. The king delivered remarks that emphasized the enduring ties between the two countries. He spoke about shared history, mutual defense commitments, and the importance of working together on issues like climate change and global security. The U.S. president responded with a speech of his own, praising the alliance and expressing gratitude for the warm welcome. He highlighted areas of agreement such as trade, technology, cooperation, and joint efforts to support Ukraine in its ongoing conflict with Russia. Both speeches avoided overt controversy, but contained carefully chosen phrases aimed at their respective domestic audiences. The banquet was more than a formal dinner. It was a stage for diplomacy. Conversations at the tables allowed leaders and advisors to discuss trade deals, security arrangements, and future cooperation in a relaxed environment. These informal discussions often pave the way for more formal agreements announced later. Observers noted the presence of major tech executives and investors, hinting that new economic initiatives may emerge from this visit. Protests in the streets. While royalty and dignitaries dined in Windsor, thousands of protesters filled the streets of London. Organizers estimated that more than 5,000 people gathered in central squares and along key routes to express their opposition. Their reasons varied. Some criticized U.S. foreign policy, calling for stronger action on climate change or a different approach to global conflicts. Others objected to the president's domestic policies, citing concerns over immigration, social justice, and human rights. Banners carried messages like "Stand for climate action" and "No to war." While giant puppets and creative costumes drew media attention, British police had prepared for weeks to manage the demonstrations. Barriers directed the flow of crowds, and officers maintained a visible but measured presence. Reports of minor scuffles emerged, but the majority of protests remained peaceful. Some groups projected critical messages onto buildings near the presidential route, using light shows to highlight issues ranging from economic inequality to past controversies. The protests underscored the reality that state visits are not merely ceremonial. They are moments when citizens voice their opinions about international policy. The existence of large, organized protests does not necessarily signal hostility between nations. In fact, it reflects the democratic freedoms both countries value. Yet the visuals of banners, chants, and police lines provide a sharp contrast to the images of banquets and royal processions. News outlets around the world broadcast these dual narratives side by side, creating a complex picture of a visit that is both celebrated and contested. Security and logistics. Behind the scenes, the visit required immense planning. Security agencies from both countries coordinated to protect the president, the royal family, and the public. Roads were closed, airspace restrictions were enforced, and thousands of officers were deployed. The scale of the operation was among the largest for any state visit in recent memory. Counter-sniper teams monitored rooftops, while plainclothes officers mingled with crowds to identify potential threats. Emergency services prepared contingency plans for everything from medical emergencies to The logistical challenge extended beyond security. Coordinators managed schedules for meetings, motorcades, and ceremonial events with minute precision. Even slight delays could disrupt live broadcasts or create security risks. Transporting the presidential motorcade across London required temporary road closures that affected traffic for thousands of residents. Critics complained about the costs and disruptions, while officials defended the measures as necessary to protect both leaders and the public. Economic goals and trade talks. A key objective of the visit is economic cooperation. Both governments see opportunities to deepen trade ties, especially in technology and energy. During bilateral meetings, advisors discussed potential agreements on artificial intelligence research, clean energy investment, and digital trade rules. British officials highlighted a new package of investment commitments from American companies, including major tech firms pledging billions of pounds for projects in AI and quantum computing. These announcements aim to show tangible benefits from the visit, countering criticism that such events are merely symbolic. For the U.S. side, the trip offers a chance to showcase support for American businesses abroad. By promoting investments in Britain, the administration signals confidence in the UK economy and encourages reciprocal deals that benefit US workers. Negotiations over specific trade terms remain complex, but both sides expressed optimism that the visit will accelerate progress. Analysts note that even preliminary agreements can influence markets and create momentum for broader economic partnerships. Political calculations. The visit carries political implications on both sides of the Atlantic. In the United States, images of the president welcomed by royalty and engaging with global leaders reinforced the narrative of strength and international respect. Supporters will likely use these images in campaign materials, while opponents may focus on protests and controversies. In the United Kingdom, Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces questions about the cost of hosting such a lavish event and about the decision to extend an unprecedented second state invitation. Some critics argue that the government is prioritizing spectacle over substance. Despite differing political calculations, both governments see value in maintaining the appearance of unity. With global conflicts ongoing and economic uncertainty rising, Projecting stability and cooperation serves strategic interests. The carefully planned speeches, joint statements, and photo opportunities are designed to reassure allies and signal resolve to rivals. State visits between the United States and the United Kingdom have a rich history. From the days of Winston Churchill and Franklin D. Roosevelt to the more recent meetings of presidents and prime ministers, these visits have often signaled turning points in global politics. The special relationship became a defining phrase during World War II, when the two nations worked together to defeat fascism. Later, during the Cold War, close cooperation helped shape NATO and coordinate strategies against the Soviet Union. Every modern state visit carries echoes of that past. The current visit draws from this tradition while reflecting today's geopolitical realities. Britain is redefining its global role after Brexit, seeking stronger trade partnerships and renewed influence outside the European Union. The United States remains a key ally, offering economic opportunity and military partnership. By hosting a full state visit, the UK signals that the alliance remains central to its foreign policy. For the US president, the trip reinforces a message of commitment to allies at a time when global conflicts and rising powers challenge established norms. Royal rituals themselves carry layered meaning. The carriage procession, the guard of honor, the exchange of gifts, all are carefully designed symbols. They remind both domestic and international audiences of continuity, tradition, and respect. The US president standing beside the British monarch offers an image of unity that transcends temporary political disagreements. Even as protesters voice criticism, the enduring alliance is presented as something larger than any single administration. The power of images. Modern diplomacy unfolds as much on screens as in private meeting rooms. Photographs and video clips from the visit dominate social media platforms within seconds of each event. Supporters share images of the president and the king smiling together, interpreting them as proof of strong ties. Critics circulate footage of protesters and controversial signs, framing the visit as a moment of confrontation. Journalists, influencers, and citizens all compete to define the narrative. The White House media team and the British government are well aware of this dynamic. Every camera angle, every handshake, every backdrop is chosen with care. Even small details, such as which flag appears more prominently behind a podium, are debated in advance. By controlling visuals, both sides seek to project strength and partnership. At the same time, the presence of thousands of independent cameras ensures that unscripted moments can also shape public perception. A single, unsmiling glance or awkward gesture can become a viral meme within minutes. Inside the meetings, beyond the ceremonies and camera flashes, substantive meetings take place behind closed doors. Advisors discuss trade terms, defense cooperation, and shared approaches to global challenges. Reports from insiders suggest that key topics include artificial intelligence, regulation, clean energy investment, cybersecurity collaboration, and strategies for supporting Ukraine while managing tensions with Russia and China. Negotiators aim to create frameworks that can survive changes in leadership in both countries. Energy policy is a particularly urgent topic. Both nations face pressure to reduce carbon emissions while maintaining economic growth. Britain seeks investment in offshore wind and hydrogen technologies, while the United States promotes its own clean energy initiatives. Agreements on joint research funding or technology sharing could accelerate progress and create jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. These details may not make headlines during the visit, but they often form the backbone of future cooperation. The role of business leaders. Accompanying the president is a delegation of business executives representing technology, energy, and finance. Their presence highlights the economic dimension of the visit. Private sector deals often emerge from the networking opportunities created by state visits. Executives meet British officials, explore investment opportunities, and announce new partnerships. Early reports mention commitments worth billions of pounds in areas such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and advanced manufacturing. For the United Kingdom, attracting these investments supports economic growth and strengthens the case for a global Britain. For the United States, facilitating overseas expansion of American companies demonstrates economic leadership and creates jobs back home. While protesters may focus on political issues, these business agreements are often what government officials consider the most concrete outcomes of such visits. protests as democratic expression. The protests continue to draw international attention. Organizers range from climate activists to human rights groups and student coalitions. Some marchers criticize specific policies, while others use the occasion to highlight broader concerns about economic inequality or the influence of big tech. Demonstrators employ creative tactics: giant puppets parodying political figures, mobile light displays projecting slogans onto government buildings, and flash mob performances designed to capture media attention. Despite the confrontational tone of some signs and chants, the overall atmosphere remains largely peaceful. Police maintain a careful balance, protecting the right to protest while ensuring safety for all. International observers often note that the ability to stage large demonstrations during a high-profile visit is itself a testament to the democratic values both countries claim to uphold. For many protesters, the goal is not to stop the visit, but to ensure that their voices are heard in the global conversation. Media coverage and public opinion. British media outlets provide wall-to-wall coverage, each with its own editorial angle. Public broadcasters highlight the ceremonial grandeur and the economic opportunities. Left-leaning newspapers focus on protests and policy disagreements. Right-leaning outlets emphasize the strength of the alliance and potential trade benefits. In the United States, networks divide along similar lines, with some celebrating the images of international respect and others questioning the cost and purpose of the trip. Polls conducted during the visit show a divided public. Some citizens welcome the renewed partnership, believing that strong ties with Britain strengthen both nations. Others see the visit as an expensive distraction from domestic issues such as healthcare, education, and housing. In Britain, some critics argue that the government should focus on economic inequality at home, rather than hosting lavish banquets for foreign leaders. These debates highlight the challenge of balancing diplomacy with domestic concerns. Security layers and technology. Security for the visit is a story in itself. The operation involves coordination between U.S. Secret Service agents, British intelligence services, local police, and military units. Advanced surveillance technology monitors crowds and communication networks. Drone detection systems scan the skies, while cyber teams guard against digital threats. Every venue is swept repeatedly, and contingency plans cover a wide range of scenarios. Transportation is equally complex. The presidential motorcade includes armored vehicles capable of withstanding significant attacks, medical units, and communication trucks that maintain constant contact with command centers. Helicopters provide aerial support, and backup routes are planned for every segment of the journey. The cost of such operations runs into millions of pounds, prompting debate about how much taxpayers should bear. Officials argue that the security measures are essential to protect both the visiting delegation and the British royal family. Cultural diplomacy. In addition to politics and economics, the visit features elements of cultural exchange. The president's schedule includes stops at museums, schools, and cultural institutions. At one event, he viewed an exhibition highlighting the shared literary heritage of the two nations, including rare manuscripts from American and British authors. Another visit took him to a technology hub showcasing joint research projects in medicine and climate science. These appearances aim to create positive headlines and strengthen people-to-people connections that support long-term alliances. Music, art, and food also play a role. The state banquet featured a menu designed to combine traditional British flavors with subtle American influences. Performances by British musicians added a celebratory tone. Such details may seem minor, but they contribute to the narrative of friendship and mutual respect. They also provide opportunities for soft diplomacy, where cultural appreciation helps smooth the way for more difficult policy discussions. Domestic repercussions. Back in the United States, political opponents watch the visit closely. Supporters of the administration highlight the warm reception and potential economic gains. Critics focus on the protests and question whether the trip yields tangible benefits for ordinary citizens. Commentary programs debate every handshake and speech, while social media platforms amplify both praise and criticism. In the United Kingdom, the government faces its own political pressures. Hosting a state visit of this scale requires significant public spending, and some members of parliament question whether the costs are justified. Others argue that the economic deals and global visibility outweigh the expense. The debate reflects broader questions about Britain's role in the world after Brexit, and how much emphasis should be placed on maintaining close ties with the United States.